Hello and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will and with me is the maestro of the meeple herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Ovation. Now if you're curious about our opinion, check out our other video, Rolling with Reviews, Ovation. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. Ovation is an engine building and resource management game where your goal is to become one of the greatest classical composers of all time. You'll use inspiration, seek fortune, and patronage from the aristocracy. Get inspiration by attending your rivals' performances and then perform your own works of genius. The game ends when there are only 2 Maestro cards left, and the player who has the most legacy points wins. All right, Will, so how's the game change for 2 players?
So the number of Maestro cards that are put out there are equal to the number of players plus 2. So that's going to be the change for each player. Additionally, I do want to add in that it does come with a little module for a magnum opus cards, where every player gets 3 of them. Another in condition is if every player has played one of their magnum opus cards.
But nothing that with that module changes for player count.
Correct.
Okay.
Just wanted to add to the end of the game. Can also be done through that. So there is no bot.
Nope. Sorry. Okay, so issues. So like a lot of games that we've played with card rows, the rows here can get stagnant. Yes, there is a mechanism for you to flush it, but it feels expensive because you basically have to toss one of your workers to flush one row and then see what comes up from it. And so getting to a point where you have enough of these extra, so there's black musical notes that you will put on cards to activate them, and you get these by performing works of art, or your music basically, performing different music. So being able to toss those, that's just a very I don't know what's one word.
It's an expensive cost.
And
the rules admit to it being an expensive cost. Now later on in the game, when every card matters, you probably have an excess of notes.
Right.
So I really think that particular mechanism is very, very useful at the end of the game. However, where it matters probably the most is when it's the most costly at the beginning of the game.
Right. So
it's a very delicate balance.
Yes. And so the frustrating part is there's only 2 players. If the row, if neither player is liking what's in the row, it's going to stay that way. With more players, it's more likely someone's going to be like, well, I can do something with that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's one of those things that card games with rows of cards that don't have a built-in mechanism of either like discarding the last one or having some other lesser payment, like paying a couple of resources to flush the row. Anyways, it just feels a little exacerbated in a 2-player count. That's all. Also, with the head-to-head nature of the 2-player experience, groupthink is a very big thing in this game, and it just feels more acute at 2 players.
Yeah, because everything is player-driven for how quickly the game moves along, how quickly they're going for the Maestro cards. And so if you see one person going for something in particular, you definitely feel the pressure.
Yeah.
Especially in a 2-player game, it just becomes that much more obvious. Like, oh crap,
Yeah.
okay, everybody just calm down. And I'm like, Sarah, I'm pretty calm, and she's like, be quiet, you're stressing me out. I just need silence.
Yeah, the race to the finish here just feels, like I said, a bit more. It's just more tension.
Yeah.
That if you see the other player is just rip-roaring forward, and it's basically the hare versus the tortoise type of thing. If you see someone racing forward and you're more like, well, I want to take my time. Well, yeah, you could take your time, but you're not going to win that way because you have to stay up. And again, this is where the group think really comes into play, because if both players are slow turtles, then it's fine. If both players are racing hares, it's fine.
Yeah.
When you get a difference in how fast or slow a person wants to play, that's where it can be a problem.
Yeah, I usually throw Sarah for a loop because I'll try both methods to see how they feel. and she's often not prepared for when I do that.
Yeah.
So for example, the box says the game typically lasts 40 minutes. Well, I decided to play a fast game. And so she saw what I was doing, and we ended up playing a game in 19 minutes.
Yep. And I actually did win by tiebreaker.
Yep.
But it was stressful.
She was all sweating, and she was like...
I was like, Will, I wanted to, like, slow down and enjoy my time with this. And I just felt like we were speed playing or something. I don't know. It was a little stressful.
It was those high energetic composing symphonies.
I guess so. But yeah, it was so close that I won by tiebreaker. It was just crazy. All right. What it does well is most likely the 2-player game will be the shortest time for all the player counts, because this is turn by turn.
Yeah.
The more players, it's going to be a longer game.
Which does make it great for learning the game.
Right. So there is that. If you're looking for a shorter game, 2 players is probably going to be really nice there. Okay, so accessibility. The chamber music and the concert music icon is often represented by one card that has a slash through it, and it's partially green and partially gray. So the green is to correspond with the, I want to say, chamber music, and the gray is concert music. I hope I don't have that backwards. But the problem there is it's just color. There's no icon there that differentiates between those 2 music types. So that could be a colorblind accessibility issue. Learning the game, we felt there is a bit of a cognitive load.
Yeah, there are going to be 4 rows out available for you to look at, and that doesn't even include the Maestro cards, which help the end of the game. So interweaving all those different cards into your strategy does take a bit of a cognitive stress to
trying to figure out where to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what is a good? Should I be playing music right now, or should what do I need to plan for to be successful in the game? Answering those type of questions does take about a gameplay for you to start getting the feel of what's good and what's bad.
Right. And it can depend.
Yes.
On a lot of things. There was unfortunately one misprint. There is a Lady Bell patron card is missing an icon in the upper left-hand corner.
The joy icon.
It's supposed to be the joy. So you can either remember it like we did, or if you go to Board Game Geek into the file section, she's uploaded the card that you can print out, or you can just print out the icon on a sticker and put it on your existing card. So she's trying to figure out if there's another way to fix it. But for right now, if you're getting this game sometime around when this video comes out, it is probably still a problem. You can always check the Kickstarter or somewhere else on Board Game Geek to see if there's a thread about it. But thankfully it's just one card, and it is one icon of 3 resources, so it's not like it's really difficult to remember.
Right.
It's a yellow flower joy icon. So your player board, you're supposed to be tucking cards under the top of it, and there's going to be 4 columns. There's not any space between the cards. I wish the boards
left and right.
I wish there was the boards were a bit wider, so that there was like at least, I mean, I don't know how much space you really need between the cards, but you need a little bit of space. It's going to get messy is really the thing to keep in mind. Maybe spacing them out a little bit more, even if it sticks out on the left and right side, will help. But that's just a minor thing there. The composer tokens are all very similarly dark colors. Well, there's a couple. I think there's a yellow one in there. It might be hard to tell them apart. The good news is it doesn't matter, because this token just stays on your player board. It's basically what you use to choose.
It's a bust of a
it's a bust of a composer. You're supposed to pick the one that matches your player board color, but they're all the same shape. It doesn't matter, because it's just used to pick an action on your player board. So you could use anything else if you don't really like what's there, or you just pick your favorite color. It doesn't really matter.
Yes.
The tickets are meant to be kept hidden, but there's like nothing anybody can do about what you get, and it's completely random. So when Will...
If you remember to shuffle.
We
forgot to shuffle.
We forgot to shuffle in our first game. And
Why is everything sorrow?
Why is everything sorrow? And then I turn the deck over. It's like, oh, I didn't shuffle it. So yes, do make sure to shuffle them. But there's only three resources. The card is going to be one of the 3 resources. You need 2 to make a single resource to trade in. So if I attend Will's concert and I'm giving him a ticket, I'm just going to tell him which one it is. It's not going to...
No impact on the game.
There's no impact on the game. It does not need to be kept secret.
Yeah.
So that's really it, which honestly, those are all relatively minor issues.
Then tell us the good.
The good, all of those resources that we've been talking about are uniquely shaped. So there's a flame for passion, joy is the yellow flower, sorrow is a blue water droplet.
And they're shaped.
And then the black music notes are your, what I'm calling workers, are just your extra actions to be able to activate the cards that you've acquired. The piano track on your player board is dual layered, which...
I love this thing.
Yeah, it's a small thing, but one, it keeps your resources in place.
Yeah, because they're styled to be like white and black keys on a keyboard. But they're just a slot to hold the 3 inspiration tokens, so you know how much you have from 0 to 8. And just them fitting in those lines, it was just a pure aesthetic thing that just feels like it went above and beyond.
Right. Well, the aesthetic, but also the usability of it is that you can manipulate your own resources.
Yes.
Again, if it had been a flat track, I would have had to manipulate all his resources for him because he literally wouldn't have been able to see where the lines are. But because it's a physical line, he can feel it. And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to do perform a music that needs 3 sorrow. And so he's like, picks up because the pieces are shaped, he can find which one was sorrow, figure out where it is, and move it the way he needs to move it.
Yes.
So again, very, very dual layer boards are very accessible for people with vision disabilities. Also those with physical disabilities, because again, they can,
because if you accidentally knock them around, like, where was it? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The icons are unique and easy to see. So again, very good graphic design here. Everything is very easy to understand. A small pet peeve of mine is that when people write words in color, either in the rule book or on cards, they forget about contrast with the background, and yellow is almost always written in a light yellow on a white background, and then you're like, I can't read that word. But here, when they wrote joy in color, it was a dark yellow. Granted, not the prettiest yellow.
But you could read it.
But you could read it, and that was the point. I mean, I don't think it needed to be written in yellow at all, like
and sometimes it wasn't.
Sometimes it wasn't. Inconsistency there, but it could have been written in black text and it would have been fine, but because there was a choice made to put it in yellow, at least it was a yellow font or color that could be seen on a white background. So that's good. Again, speaking of rules, all clear, really comprehensive. We love that there were multiple examples for a lot of the more complex concepts. So it's really well done. There's reference information on the back. Most of the game's open information, so you shouldn't have any problems, and if you do, you can ask someone else. And lastly, the representation is, yes, they have to be limited by historical. So your composers, which are your player boards, they're 5 male and 1 female.
Yeah.
Composer. But where they could take liberties in just making things up, the patrons, because they weren't specific historical people, that's where you get a lot of good representation in variety of regions, races, gender. It was nice to see that was thought about.
Yeah, heck, you were even like, whoa, I think this guy's Jewish.
I think.
with a name like Solomon.
Yeah, you'd think so. So it's one of those things, if you do a historically accurate game, it can be really difficult to have good representation. But where they could, they did that here.
Yes.
All right, conclusion.
For 2 players, would you recommend?
I think yes, but beware of the group think, which is just I don't want to say issue, but it is a thing about this game. It's easy to have group think because of the race to the finish. It's just a bit more acute in a 2-player game.
Right, because you really feel the pressure from the other player.
Right.
Definitely recommend 2-player. especially learning the game.
Yes.
Because of how much stuff is interwoven. It does take a while for your brain to tackle it, wrap your head around it, and start making better and better decisions as you play. Accessibility.
I think so. There are minor issues, but I don't see any of those issues stopping anyone from playing. And even the card that has the misprint, I mean, I guess if you really didn't want to mess with it, you could take it out of the game. I don't think, maybe at the higher player count you would actually go through all the cards, but I know at the lower player count we definitely didn't go through all the cards.
Yeah, I think the only time accessibility would actually overcome somebody is on the cognitive level, and that's only if you're playing a really, really, really slow game.
Yes.
Where you're just really building up the inspire action, the get fortune action, the patron action, the play music action, but you're not really playing a lot of music, because playing music is essentially how the game moves forward and gets to the end, which is why it's a very important action. But if you're too busy building this giant engine, then you're like, oh, okay, now I'm really confused and torn as to how to allocate my notes to play this game. That's probably where you finally will see some accessibility issues breaking people cognitively.
Right. If all the players at the table allow the game to go too long, and that's why engine building games definitely are tricky to design, because you have to let them go on long enough to enjoy it, but not so long that it becomes a burden.
Right.
And that's where I think I don't like it when you go too fast, is because then I'm like, I didn't even build an engine.
Hey, I am just unburdening you. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, that'll do it for us. And Sarah.
Yes.
So I was thinking probably the easiest thing for Kirsten to do to fix the card is to come up with maybe a little deck of cards that does something.
Okay.
And then she can have the reprinted card mixed in with that. However, I'm struggling to think of what would be something that would fit in this game, because everything's so tightly, the mechanisms are so tight. Anything you do would just feel like a weird tacked on thing.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, because I mean, you could always argue just add in more, but I don't know that a general more would work well here. And I'm not sure what new to introduce, unless there is a way to maybe, I don't know how you would perform lesser music, but I don't know what that would benefit you.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is if she introduced something like specialized makers of musical instruments.
Okay.
You know, like there are certain people that are known for making violins. There are certain people known for making pianos, and having that represented in here somewhere.
I can see it thematically, but I'm not sure what the mechanism would do then.
Well, I would think it would be kind of like a different game we played, Harvest, where it would be each person could probably get this prized musician piece, or this musical instrument piece.
Okay.
And then it would be like their composer's special ability, but in doing something slightly different. To add more variety to the 6 starting composers, because this could add that extra little, like one time Beethoven has a special violin, but now he has a piano. And so now it's just slightly different than a previous version of the game.
Maybe.
That's the only thing I could think of. And,
all right,
and that's a reach.
Create a small promo pack that has the reprinted card in it. You're welcome.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And why would you ever roll with just one when you could be rolling with two? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two. That's TWO. We're on Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Discord, we have a channel on Tabletop Express. Check the show notes for the invite link.
If you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.